pros and cons of village life. So I live in a small village in rural Derbyshire, and one of the cons is that whatever you do, everybody's going to find out about it, because everybody knows everybody else's business. If something big happens, everybody's going to know about it. Luckily it's fairly quiet and I keep myself to myself, so that doesn't really affect me that much. One of the pros, as you can see, views. We have them in abundance, and you can't beat a good view. Can't put a price on that. Excuse me. But yeah, so there's our first couple. So another downside to country life is country roads. Now I don't mind country roads, but the trouble is you get some people that use them like racetracks, which means at times you can really be taking your life in your own hands. But if you, provided you keep an eye out and just remember that everybody else on the road's a moron, you can navigate them quite safely. Still, it is a bit of a downside, or potential. Now we're technically just outside the village, but it's in walking distance, and it's definitely a plus point because there's a pub there and it's a really good pub. So having a pub in walking distance, always a good thing. So we're heading back into the village now. Like I said, a pub in walking distance is always a pro. But let's go back to our cons list. Now, I'm not the only gay in the village. However, living in a village just means that there are slim pickings. And if you're to use, shall we say, dating apps like Grindr, well, everyone's normally at least 2 or 3 miles away. Not ideal if you know, you're gonna know. But there we go. That's definitely a con. One thing we do have that you can see, excuse me, just in the background there, hopefully, probably not, I've gone too far past, is we do have a repair centre in the village, which is always good. So if your car goes wrong, there's always somewhere to go. So definitely a pro. Now I've grew up in the country, so I'm a country boy, grew up on a farm. Not although my sister says I'm a city boy. But as you can see behind me, there is a very large, you can probably just see it over the wall there, pile of shit. Now, the countryside, well, it does smell. Personally, it doesn't bother me, but some city boys, they just don't like it. There you go. It could be considered a con. I don't really see it that way, but there you go. Now, oh, my head's in the way. Now just behind me you can see the pub sign there. So I did used to be a pub in the village, but it's been closed for a while now. Well, all pubs have been closed obviously because of COVID, but that one's been closed for a while, and never sort of has reopened when they've been allowed to. And apparently it's going to be turned into a house or something. So the loss of a pub, well, it's definitely got to be a con, hasn't it? Never heard anyone say we need fewer pubs, unless they're nuts. Lucky though, we do have this pub here behind me, which is in the village, and it's a really good pub. It does great proper ale, which I don't drink, but it also does great cider, which I do drink. So we do have a good pub in the village, which obviously has to be a pro. As you can see behind me, we have our very own village shop, which again is definitely a pro because they have pretty much all the things you would need. It's not like the shop that used to be near my house, which literally was like an Aladdin's cave. You could find anything in there, but it's pretty cool, and it has pretty much everything, including gift stuff, so that's always a plus. We do have a village hall, which is a plus point, and next to that we do have a school as well, but I'm not going to film the school, even though the kids aren't there anymore. It's just not really appropriate. But we have a very good primary school, and now it's been refurbished. Really good village hall too. So a couple of pros there. Oh, blimey. So I'm carrying shopping next. I popped into the shop. There we go. Now another pro, you can sort of just sit there, look around. There's the car park. Is the fact that we have another pub. Now this one is very close to my house. It also has a cafe and a post office, which is all owned and run by the village. Which is good. I mean, a very close by pub is good. It's a nice pub. Of course, the downside is it's run by the village, which means there's obviously contention sometimes between people and things like that. But for the most part, it's there, it's operating, it's running. It's got a post office, it's got a really nice cafe, homemade cakes. Can't really say more than that, can you? So, overall, a little bit of con in there. But let's face it, it's mainly pro. It's a pub, there's alcohol, good times. So just up here is sort of a park slash playground, football posts, swings, stuff like that. I'm not going to film in there obviously because there's kids in there and I've not got any with me, so it'll be a bit weird. So the fact that there is this park and place for, for to take kids, nephews and stuff, that is definitely a pro. A con, there's lots of people seem to drive here. Now that's fine if, you've got a bit of a distance to cover. You do get people driving really stupidly short distances, and they obviously come and park all the cars along here, which is not ideal because, well, this is a 60 mile an hour limit road and it's pretty narrow. Now we do also have our own football team. I'm not sure if this is really a pro or a con, to be perfectly honest, because I'm indifferent about it. I've never actually even come and watched them play. Maybe I should, and that way I'd have an idea. But there we go. We have a football team. Pro, con, I don't know. You decide. It's a football team. Don't know how good they are. Don't even know where they're ranked. Definitely non-league. We also have our very own church. Pretty much like most villages. Right there. Nice little church. Has some work done on it. So, don't really know what else you can say about it really. Church is a church. Not particularly religious, but it's nice to have one, isn't it? And this is the view from my house. Definitely a pro. So back inside, another con about village life is the fact that depending on where you live, house prices can be a little bit on the steep side. I mean, even today where I live, they are quite high. Luckily, we bought a house a long time ago, so we've not been affected by it. But if you were to want to move here now, then the prices can be a bit on the steep side. Another con about village life, you're always a long way away from that good nightlife. And even though where I live there are some nice-ish pubs and bars and one club in the local town, it's not like we would call the greatest. And then if you go over to the main city, which is obviously a good while away, it's like if you were to walk there, it's going to take you a couple of hours. I've walked back from there before. I mean, it normally takes me about an hour and 40 minutes, an hour and a half, but I walk quite quick. But again, nightlife there still isn't that great. I mean, it's obviously a bit better, a bit more choice, or at least there was. Who knows what it's going to be like after, obviously, everything opens back up again. But again, getting back home can be a bit pricey. So that's definitely another con. So there we go. That is some of the pros and cons of village life. If you think I've missed something, or you live in a village or small town or whatever, drop a comment and I can see what you think as well. Catch you later.
Jet plane headed up to the sky, spread wings and the clouds getting